The starship Harmony broke through the darkness of space, its engines glowing blue against the black. Captain Jiho Park stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he looked at the giant screen in front of him. The alien space station grew larger as they approached. It looked like a silver flower with many petals spinning slowly in the emptiness. "Communications check," Jiho said, his voice calm despite the importance of this moment. Ha-Eun Lee nodded from her station. "All systems ready, Captain. Translation software is running at full capacity." "Weapon status?" Jiho asked, turning to his tactical officer. Dae-sung Kim looked up from his console. "All defensive systems operational but powered down as agreed. We are approaching as peaceful representatives of Earth." Jiho nodded. This was humanity's first meeting with an alien civilization. The Navarans had sent signals to Earth 6 months ago, and after careful exchanges, they had invited a human delegation to their space station. The Korean space exploration vessel Harmony carried representatives from all major Earth nations. "Remember," Jiho told his crew, "we represent all of humanity today. Our mission is to establish friendly relations and possible trade agreements." The Harmony slowed as it reached the docking area. Metal arms extended from the station and gently guided the human ship into place. There was a soft bump as the ships connected, followed by the hissing sound of air pressure equalizing. "Docking complete," Dae-sung reported. Jiho straightened, his blue uniform. "Ha-Eun, Dae-sung, you're with me. The rest of you maintain positions and stay alert." The 3 officers walked to the airlock. Jiho took a deep breath before pressing the button to open the door. The future of Earth-alien relations might depend on what happened next. The door slid open to reveal 3 tall figures waiting on the other side. The Navarans stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender bodies. Their skin seemed almost see-through, showing shifting colors like oil on water. They had 4 arms and large, almond-shaped eyes that blinked slowly. The middle Navaran stepped forward. "Welcome, humans. I am Ambassador Thelox. We are pleased you accepted our invitation." Jiho bowed slightly. "Thank you for having us, Ambassador. I am Captain Jiho Park of the Earth vessel Harmony. These are my officers, Ha-Eun Lee and Dae-sung Kim." Thelox made a flowing gesture with his upper arms. "Please follow me. We have prepared suitable accommodations for your biological needs." As they walked through the station, Jiho couldn't help but be amazed. The hallways seemed to be made of a single piece of flowing metal. Lights appeared without visible sources. Navaran crew members moved about with graceful efficiency. Occasionally, glancing at the humans with what seemed like curiosity. "Your station is impressive," Jiho said. "This?" Thelox waved a hand dismissively. "This is merely an outpost. Our central worlds have structures that would truly amaze creatures at your stage of development." Jiho noticed the slight tone of superiority, but chose to ignore it. "We look forward to learning more about your civilization." They entered a large room with a curved window showing the stars outside. A table was set with various containers and objects that must have been eating. "Utensils. We have studied your nutritional requirements and prepared appropriate sustenance," Thelox said. "Please rest and refresh yourselves. We will begin formal discussions in 1 Earth hour." After the Navarans left, Ha-Eun activated her scanner. "The food appears safe for human consumption, Captain." "Good." Jiho picked up something that looked like a blue fruit. "Thoughts so far?" Dae-sung frowned. "They seem condescending." "I noticed that too," Ha-Eun said. "The way Ambassador Thelox referred to our stage of development felt like how we might talk about children." Jiho nodded slowly. "We need to be careful. Their technology is clearly advanced, but that doesn't mean we should accept any position of inferiority." 1 hour later, they were led to a conference room where 5 Navarans waited. The formal introductions began, with each side sharing information about their worlds and cultures. As Dae-sung described Earth's space capabilities, he noticed several Navarans exchanging glances. One of them made a sound that the translator converted as laughter. "Is something amusing?" Dae-sung asked politely. A Navaran with greenish skin tones replied, "We apologize. It's just that your propulsion methods are quite primitive. We abandoned such techniques thousands of years ago. Another Navaran leaned toward Thalox and said something, apparently not realizing the translators were still working. They think those metal boxes are spaceships. It's like watching infants playing with toys. Jiho saw Daesung's jaw tighten, but gave him a warning look. This was not the time for anger. The meeting continued for several hours, with the Navarans explaining their vast empire that spanned hundreds of star systems. They showed holographic maps of their territory and briefly mentioned other alien species they had encountered. "And where do humans fit into this galactic community?" Jiho asked. Thalox's expression changed slightly. "That is precisely why we invited you here. We have a proposal." The main lights dimmed and a holographic document appeared in the center of the table. "The Navaran Empire offers Earth-protected status," Thalox explained. "We would defend your world from external threats and guide your technological development along approved paths." Ha-Yun read through the document quickly. "This says Earth would need to provide 70% of its natural resources to the Empire. A small price for our protection," Thalox said smoothly. "Your mining techniques are inefficient anyway. We could extract resources with minimal environmental impact." Jiho noticed another concerning clause. "This also limits our space exploration and military development." "For your own safety," another Navaran explained. "Primitive species often destroy themselves when they advance too quickly. We've seen it happen before." The condescension was now obvious. Jiho looked at his officers and saw their barely contained anger. "We would need to bring this proposal back to Earth's leaders," Jiho said carefully. "This is not a decision we can make alone." Thalox nodded. "Of course, we understand that species at your level require consensus decision-making. You have 1 Earth month to consider our generous offer." As they returned to their quarters, Daesung could no longer contain himself. "They're treating us like backward children. That's not an alliance, it's colonization." "I know," Jiho said quietly, "but we need to be strategic. We came here to gather information, and that's what we've done." Ha-Yun was reviewing the data she had collected. "Their technology is advanced, but I've noticed inconsistencies in how they discuss their military capabilities. I think they're exaggerating." Jiho nodded. "Continue gathering data. Be respectful but observant. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with before we return to Earth." Over the next 3 days, the humans were given tours of parts of the station. At each step, the Navarans' attitude of superiority became clearer. They explained simple concepts as if speaking to children and openly laughed at human questions. On the final day, Thalox presented a small device. "A gift for your leaders. A basic power generator that uses principles your scientists might understand with some study." "Thank you," Jiho said, forcing a smile. "We look forward to examining it." As they boarded the Harmony for their return journey, Jiho turned to his crew. "Set course for Earth maximum speed. We have much to report." The ship detached from the station and accelerated away. Once they were a safe distance, Jiho gathered his officers. "They think we're primitive and weak," he said. "But they don't know humanity like we do. They don't know what we've survived, what we've overcome." Ha-Yun looked at the stars on the view screen. "They're in for a surprise." "Yes," Jiho agreed. "I think they are." The Harmony landed at the Seoul Space Center 3 weeks after leaving the Navaran station. A crowd of officials waited as Captain Jiho Park and his crew stepped onto Earth soil. Their faces were serious. They carried not just reports, but a warning. "Welcome back, Captain," said the Korean Space Minister, shaking Jiho's hand. "We've arranged for an emergency United Nations meeting tomorrow. The world is eager to hear about our new galactic neighbors." Jiho nodded. "Thank you, Minister. But I must warn you, this meeting will not bring the good news everyone hopes for." That night, Jiho could not sleep. He stood by his apartment window, looking at the city lights of Seoul. Would these lights still shine a year from now? Or would they be dimmed under alien control? He thought about the Navarans' smug faces and their generous offer that was really a demand for Earth surrender. The next day, representatives from all nations gathered at the UN headquarters in New York. The room was packed with leaders from every country. Screens showed the meeting to billions of people worldwide. Jiho stood at the podium with Ha-Yun and Daesung beside him. He described their journey and the meeting with the Navarans in careful detail. Then he displayed the treaty on the large screens. As you can see, Jiho explained, this is not a partnership. The Navarans demand 70% of Earth's resources. They want to limit our technology and space travel. They offer protection we never asked for. Murmurs filled the room. The Russian president stood up. Perhaps they are just being cautious with a new species. Jiho shook his head. That's what we thought at first. He nodded to Ha-Yun, who played recordings from their visit. The screens showed Navaran officials laughing at human technology. Their translated words were clear. Like watching infants playing with toys, and primitive species need guidance. Anger replaced worry on many faces. The Chinese premier spoke next. Their attitude is unacceptable, but their technology seems far beyond ours. How can we refuse without risking attack? A tall woman in a military uniform stood up from the back of the room. May I speak? She asked. The UN Secretary General nodded. The floor recognizes General Sunwoo Choi of the International Space Defense Initiative. General Choi walked to the front of the room. Her steps were confident. What the Navarans don't know is that Earth has not been sitting idle. For 20 years since we first detected signals from deep space, we have been preparing. She pressed a button, and the screens changed to show images that shocked even Jiho. Underground bases, hidden shipyards on the far side of the moon, strange-looking spacecraft unlike anything the public had seen. Project Phoenix, General Choi explained. A joint program created by all major powers on Earth. While we explored space openly with ships like the Harmony, we developed advanced defensive technology in secret. The American president looked uncomfortable. This program was never approved by— It was approved, General Choi interrupted, by your predecessors and their predecessors. Some secrets must be kept even from politicians until they are needed. This is such a time. Jiho stared at the images. You're saying we have ships that can match Navaran technology? Not exactly match, the general replied. In some ways we may be behind. In others we may be ahead. The Navarans have grown comfortable in their superiority. They don't expect resistance. Ha-Yun stepped forward. During our visit, I collected data on their systems. She held up a small device. They were so busy looking down on us that they didn't notice my scans. I identified several weaknesses in their technology. How long until they expect our answer? General Choi asked. 1 month from our meeting, Jiho answered. That gives us about 1 week. The UN Secretary General called for a vote. After hours of debate, the decision was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. General Choi approached Jiho after the meeting. Captain Park, I need your crew's help. You've seen the Navarans up close. Your knowledge is valuable. Of course, Jiho said. What do you need us to do? Come with me, she replied. It's time you saw what humanity is really capable of. The next day, Jiho, Ha-Yun, and Daesung boarded a small, plane-looking shuttle. Instead of flying up, it descended into the Pacific Ocean. They watched in amazement as the water parted to reveal a massive underwater base. Mariana Deep Base, General Choi explained as they docked, one of several hidden facilities around the world. Inside, they found a hive of activity. Engineers and soldiers from dozens of nations worked side by side. The main hangar contained a spacecraft unlike any Jiho had seen before. It was sleek and black with no visible engines or windows. The KSEV Vengeance, General Choi said with pride. Our flagship. There are 46 others like it hidden throughout the solar system. How is this possible? Daesung asked, walking around the ship. The technology needed for this. Reverse. Engineering, a voice said behind them. They turned to see an older man in a lab coat. Dr. Jinsu Kang, he introduced himself. 20 years ago, A small alien scout ship crashed in the Gobi Desert. All nations agreed to keep it secret to prevent panic. We learned from it. Ha-Un examined the ship closely. This doesn't look like Navaran technology. It wasn't, Dr. Kang confirmed. We believe at least 3 different alien species have scouted Earth over the centuries. We've found and studied their crashed ships. The Navarans aren't the first to find us, just the first to make official contact. Over the next 5 days, Jiho and his crew worked with the Phoenix team. Ha-Yun joined the science division, helping them understand the Navaran data she had collected. Dae-Sung worked with tactical officers to develop battle strategies. Jiho was surprised when General Choi called him to her office. "Captain Park," she said, "the world leaders have made a decision. You are being promoted to Admiral. You will command the Vengeance and lead our response to the Navarans." Jiho stared at her in shock. "With respect, General, I'm an explorer, not a military commander." "You're both," she replied. "You've met these aliens. You understand them. Your crew trusts you. We need someone who can fight if necessary but seek peace if possible." Jiho thought for a long moment. "I accept, but I have conditions. Dae-Sung should command his own vessel, and Ha-Yun should lead our electronic warfare division." "Already done," General Choi said with a small smile. "Captain Kim will command the Shadow, our stealth vessel. Commander Lee has already improved our communication scramblers by 30%. As the deadline approached, Admiral Jiho gathered all fleet commanders for a final briefing. The room was filled with officers from every nation on Earth. "The Navarans expect to see the Harmony return with diplomats ready to sign their treaty," Jiho explained. "Instead, I will meet them alone. When they realize we reject their terms, they will likely threaten force." He pointed to the star map, showing positions throughout the solar system. "Our fleet is already in position, hidden by our stealth technology. When I give the signal, all ships will drop their cloaking and reveal themselves." "What if they attack immediately?" asked the captain of the Russian vessel. "We don't believe they will," Ha-Un answered. "Based on their communications, their nearest reinforcements are at least 3 months away. They sent only 1 diplomatic vessel because they don't expect resistance." "Their arrogance is our advantage," Dae-Sung added. "They think we're primitive. They don't know what we're capable of." Admiral Jiho looked around the room at the determined faces. Humans had fought each other for centuries, but now they stood united against an external threat. "We hope for peace," Jiho said, "but we must be ready for war. The Navarans gave us 1 month to decide if we would surrender our freedom and resources. We will show them that humanity does not surrender." The room erupted in applause. As the meeting ended, Jiho found himself looking out a viewport at the massive hangar. The Vengeance waited below, its black surface seeming to swallow light. Ha-Yun joined him. "Are you worried?" she asked. "Yes," Jiho admitted. "Not about the Navarans, but about what comes after. Win or lose, everything changes from this point forward. Humanity knows we're not alone, and the galaxy knows about us." "Change was always coming," Ha-Un said. "At least now we face it on our terms, not theirs." Jiho nodded. "Prepare the fleet. It's time to show the Navarans who they're really dealing with." The underwater hangar buzzed with activity. Engineers made final adjustments to the sleek black warship that dominated the space. The KSV Vengeance no longer looked like a work in progress, but a finished weapon, ready for battle. Admiral Jiho Park stood before a mirror in his new quarters, adjusting the collar of his dark blue uniform. The 4 gold stars on his shoulders felt heavy with responsibility. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Ha-Yun Lee stepped in, also wearing a new uniform with commander insignia. "The final system checks are complete, Admiral. The Vengeance is ready." Jiho nodded. "And the rest of the fleet?" "All ships report ready status. Captain Dae-Sung has the Shadow in position near Mars, hidden from all scanning technology. The other ships are at their assigned positions throughout the solar system." "Good." Jiho turned from the mirror. "The Navarans will arrive tomorrow. Is your electronic warfare team prepared?" Ha-Yun smiled with confidence. We've developed systems that should bypass their communication security. Based on the data I collected, their encryption is advanced but has patterns we can exploit. And if we have to fight? Her smile faded. That's harder to predict. Their weapons technology is impressive, but they seem to rely heavily on energy shields. Our quantum lances are designed to disrupt those shields, rather than trying to overpower them. Jiho picked up a tablet showing the fleet deployment. 47 ships hidden throughout the solar system, each with technology reverse-engineered from various alien craft that had crashed on Earth over the centuries. Some of the technology was enhanced by human innovation, approaches the aliens might never have considered. 20 years of secret preparation, Jiho said quietly. And now we find out if it was enough. It has to be, Ha-On replied. The alternative is becoming a resource colony for the Navaran Empire. Later that day, Jiho called a final meeting with all ship captains via secure holographic link. Their faces appeared around the conference table, some nervous, others determined. Tomorrow, humanity shows its true face to the stars, Jiho began. The Navarans come expecting our surrender. Instead, they will find our resolve. He activated a holographic display showing Earth and the expected arrival point of the Navaran vessel. Our plan remains unchanged. I will meet them alone on the Yer diplomatic vessel. When they realize we reject their terms, they will likely threaten force. At my signal, all ships will drop stealth fields and reveal our true strength. What if they attack immediately? Asked the captain of the European vessel. The shadow will be positioned directly beneath their ship, weapons locked on their most vulnerable points, Dae-sung answered. If they make any aggressive move, we can strike before their weapons are fully charged. Remember, Jiho added, our goal is not war but respect. The Navarans must understand that humanity will not be colonized or exploited. We seek peaceful relations between equals, nothing less. The captains nodded in agreement. One by one, their holograms winked out until only Jiho and Ha-On remained in the room. Get some rest, Jiho told her. Tomorrow will test us all. But rest did not come easily that night. Jiho lay awake, his mind racing with possibilities. What if the Navarans had more ships hidden nearby? What if Earth's technology wasn't as advanced as they hoped? What if this led to a war that devastated Earth? Yet doing nothing wasn't an option. The Navaran Treaty would strip Earth of its resources and independence. It would make humans second-class beings in their own solar system. Morning came too, quickly. Jiho boarded the small diplomatic vessel that would take him to the meeting point. It was the same ship that had first encountered the Navarans, maintaining the illusion that humanity had nothing else to offer. Admiral, Ha-On's voice came through his earpiece. The Navaran ship has entered the solar system. It's much larger than before. They're trying to intimidate us, Jiho replied. Maintain positions. All ships remain in stealth mode until my signal. An hour later, Jiho saw the Navaran vessel through his view screen. The previous ship had been impressive, but this one was enormous, at least 5 times larger, with weapons ports clearly visible along its hull. Navaran vessel, this is Admiral Jiho Park of Earth. I come as requested to discuss your proposal. There was a brief pause before a familiar voice responded. Admiral Park, I am pleased you have come. Prepare to dock with our ship. The massive, alien vessel extended a docking tube. Jiho guided his small ship carefully into position. With a soft thud, the ships connected. Jiho took a deep breath and opened the airlock. On the other side stood Ambassador Thelox, flanked by 2 Navarans, in what appeared to be military uniforms. Admiral, Thelox said, his tone friendly but his eyes cold. I see Earth has promoted you. A wise choice to send a familiar face. Ambassador, Jiho nodded politely. Earth's leaders have carefully considered your proposal. Excellent. We have prepared the final treaty for signing. Once complete, Navaran protection forces will begin arriving to secure your system. Jiho kept his face neutral. Before we proceed, I would like to clarify some points in the agreement. Thelox led him to a large meeting room. Through the viewport, Earth was visible as a blue marble in the distance. The sight strengthened Jiho's resolve. "I notice your ship is considerably larger than your previous vessel," Jiho commented. Thelox made a dismissive gesture. "A standard diplomatic cruiser. We thought it best to send a more impressive representative of our civilization." "Including weapon systems?" Jiho asked innocently. The Navaran's colors shifted slightly. "Merely standard defenses. The galaxy can be dangerous for primitive species without protection." "I see." Jiho sat at the table. "Let's discuss the treaty terms." For the next hour, Jiho asked detailed questions about resource extraction, technological limitations, and Navaran protection. With each question, Thalox grew visibly impatient. "These matters have been decided," the ambassador finally said. "The terms are generous given Earth's position. Now, are you prepared to sign on behalf of your planet?" Jiho stood slowly. "Ambassador, Thelox, Earth appreciates your interest in our world. However, we must decline your offer." The room went silent. Thelox's skin pulsed with dark colors. "Perhaps I misheard. The treaty is not optional. It is how the Navaran Empire welcomes new worlds into its protection." "Earth does not require protection," Jiho said firmly. "We propose instead a treaty of mutual respect and equal exchange between our civilizations." Thelox laughed, the sound like shattering glass. "Equal? You misunderstand your position. Your species is barely space-capable. You have nothing to negotiate with." "That's where you're wrong," Jiho replied calmly. He tapped his communication device. "Phoenix Fleet, execute reveal pattern alpha." Across the solar system, stealth fields dropped simultaneously. On the room's tactical display, dozens of ships suddenly appeared. Near Earth, around the Moon, near Mars, in the asteroid belt, and even close to the Navaran vessel itself. Thelox stared at the display in shock. "Impossible. Your technology. Can't what?" Jiho asked. "Can't hide from your sensors? Can't produce ships of this capability? You've been making assumptions about humanity based on what we showed you." The Navaran military officers had rushed to the display, checking readings with growing alarm. 47 vessels, one reported. Unknown configuration. No energy signatures detected until they appeared. "How?" Thelox demanded, turning to Jiho. "How did you develop this technology?" "Let's just say humanity has had previous encounters with beings from beyond our world. Not all of them were as careful as you when visiting Earth. We learned from what they left behind." Thelox's colors had faded to a pale blue. "This changes nothing. The Navaran Empire is 3 months away at your fastest travel speed," Jiho interrupted. "We've analyzed your communications. Your ship is impressive, but even your shields can't withstand 47 simultaneous quantum lance strikes." As if to emphasize his point, a message came through Jiho's communicator. "Admiral, this is Captain Dae-sung on the Shadow. We are in position directly beneath the Navaran vessel, weapons locked on their shield generators and engine core." Jiho kept his eyes on Thelox. "Now, Ambassador, I believe it's time to discuss a new treaty. One between equals." For the first time, Jiho saw something like respect in the alien's eyes, possibly fear as well. Thelox looked at Earth through the viewport, then back at the tactical display showing the human fleet. "It seems," the ambassador said slowly, "that we have underestimated your species." "A common mistake," Jiho replied. "One I hope won't be repeated. Now shall we begin again? As equals this time?" Thelox nodded, his colors shifting to a more neutral pattern. As equals. In orbit above the blue planet, 2 ships faced each other, one massive and built for intimidation, the other small and diplomatic. But surrounding them, invisible until needed, humanity's true strength waited patiently. The Phoenix had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same. The atmosphere on the Navaran ship changed instantly. Where before there had been condescension, now there was tension. Guards moved closer to their ambassador. Screens flickered as officers tried to understand how 47 warships had appeared from nowhere. "This is some kind of trick," said one of the Navaran officers. "Human technology cannot hide from our sensors." It's no trick, Admiral Ji-ho replied calmly. We've been developing stealth technology for decades. Your scanners search for energy signatures. Our ships don't emit any when in stealth mode. Ambassador Thelox had recovered some of his composure. Even if these ships are real, they cannot match Navaran firepower. Our empire spans hundreds of worlds. Your nearest reinforcements are 3 months away, Ji-ho reminded him. By then, this would be over. Thelox's colors shifted to deep red patterns. You threaten war? Your species would be extinct before the first Navaran reinforcements arrived. Not war, Ji-ho corrected, a choice. You can accept that humanity is not the primitive species you assumed, or you can test that assumption. Either way, the original treaty is rejected. The tension in the room grew. Ji-ho could hear Ha-un's voice in his earpiece, soft but urgent. Admiral, we're detecting power buildups in their weapon systems. They may be preparing to fire. Ji-ho kept his eyes on Thelox. Ambassador, I notice your weapons are powering up. That would be a poor decision. Thelox looked surprised, then angry. You're monitoring our systems? Of course, just as you monitored ours during our first meeting. Ji-ho tapped his communicator. Commander Lee, please explain our current tactical situation to the ambassador. Ha-un's voice came through the ship's speakers. The Shadow is positioned beneath your vessel's main shield generator with quantum lances locked on target. 5 other warships have your engine cores targeted. Your weapons are impressive, but they require 3 minutes to reach full charge. Our lances can fire in under 5 seconds. There was silence as the Navarans processed this information. Finally, Thelox spoke to one of his officers in their native language. The weapon stopped charging. It seems we find ourselves at an impasse, Thelox said. Not an impasse, Ji-ho replied. An opportunity. You came expecting to find a weak species you could dominate. Instead, you found equals. Now we can have a real conversation about our future relationship. Thelox stared at him for a long moment. Very well, Admiral. What does Earth propose? First, your ship will power down all weapons systems. Then we will move this discussion to neutral space. A station between our ships where representatives from both sides can speak freely. The ambassador considered this acceptable. But I warn you, the Navaran Empire does not take challenges lightly. This isn't a challenge, Ji-ho said. It's a correction of your misunderstanding. 3 hours later, a small station had been positioned between the Navaran cruiser and Earth. Inside, Ji-ho sat across from Thelox at a round table. Captain Daesung and Commander Ha-un flanked the admiral. 3 Navaran officials accompanied their ambassador. Let me be clear, Ji-ho began. Earth wants peaceful relations with the Navaran Empire and all galactic civilizations. We seek cultural exchange, fair trade, and mutual respect. You speak of respect, Thelox replied, yet you concealed your military capabilities from us. Ji-ho raised an eyebrow. Did you reveal the full extent of your empire's capabilities? Or did you show only what you wanted us to see? The ambassador's colors shifted to a pattern Ji-ho hadn't seen before. A fair point. Ha-un opened a holographic display showing a new treaty draft. We propose these terms as a starting point for discussion. Equal exchange of scientific knowledge, regulated trade of resources, and non-aggression agreements. The Navarans studied the document. One of their officials looked up with surprise. This offers us access to your quantum stealth technology. Why would you share such an advantage? Because true peace comes from strength on all sides, Ji-ho explained. If your empire values our technology, you'll be less likely to consider us expendable. Clever, Thelox admitted. But there are technologies we will not share. As there are for us, Daesung acknowledged. The treaty allows for mutual classification of certain technologies as restricted. The negotiations continued for hours. Sometimes voices rose in disagreement. Twice, Thelox threatened to leave. But steadily, they made progress. As they worked, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. A Navaran officer rushed in. Ambassador, a ship has entered the system at high speed. It's one of ours, an Imperial scout. Thelox's colors pulsed with surprise. We sent no scout, Jiho exchanged glances with his officers. Commander Lee, contact the fleet. All ships maintain positions but be ready. The view screen showed a small Navaran vessel approaching rapidly. It wasn't slowing down. They're not responding to communication, the Navaran officer reported, sounding confused. Ha-Yun studied her scanner. Admiral, I'm detecting an unusual energy buildup in that ship. It's not consistent with normal Navaran technology. Thelox's colors shifted to a dark purple. That's not one of our standard vessels. He turned to his officer. Open emergency. Channel Imperial Authorization Code. The officer tried several times. No response, Ambassador. It could be a trap, Dae-sung said, hand moving to his weapon. Jiho shook his head. If they wanted to attack, they would have brought more than one small ship. The scout vessel continued its approach, now clearly on a course toward the diplomatic station. Its speed was not decreasing. It's on a collision course, Ha-Yun announced. Impact in 40 seconds. Evacuate the station, Jiho ordered. Everyone to the escape pods now. As they rushed toward the pods, Thelox fell into step beside Jiho. This is not our doing, Admiral. The Navaran Empire does not operate this way. I believe you, Jiho replied. But someone wants to make sure these negotiations fail. They reached the escape pods as the station's automated warnings counted down to impact. Jiho, Ha-Yun, and Dae-sung entered one pod while the Navarans took another. Shadow, this is Admiral Park, Jiho said into his communicator as their pod launched. Target that scout vessel. Stop it before it hits the station. Through the pod's viewport, they watched as the Shadow appeared from its stealth mode, directly in the scout's path. The human warship fired its quantum lances, slicing through the scout's engines, but the smaller ship's momentum carried it forward. It crashed into the station, though at a reduced speed. The explosion was still significant, sending debris in all directions. All ships, defensive positions, Jiho ordered. This could be the start of a larger attack. Their escape pod was picked, up by the Vengeance minutes later. On the bridge, Jiho found General Choi waiting for him. We're scanning the system for other intruders, she reported. Nothing yet. The Navaran pod is being brought aboard their cruiser. Jiho nodded. Keep weapon systems ready, but don't target their ship. I don't think they're behind this. Sir, a communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from the Navaran vessel. Ambassador Thelox is requesting to speak with you. On screen, Jiho replied. Thelox's face appeared, his colors now a steady blue. Admiral Park, I assure you that ship was not sent by our empire. We are investigating its origin. I believe you, Ambassador. The question is, who would benefit from disrupting our negotiations? There are factions within our empire who prefer expansion through force rather than diplomacy, Thelox admitted. They may see Earth as a test case for their philosophy. Or it could be another species entirely, Ha-Yun suggested. One that doesn't want humans and Navarans forming an alliance. Jiho considered this. Either way, we need to finish what we started. Ambassador, I propose we continue our negotiations aboard the Vengeance. There was a pause. Your flagship? Is this a demand for surrender, Admiral? No, Jiho said firmly. It's an offer of trust. You'll be under our protection while we complete the treaty, a gesture of good faith. After another pause, Thelox nodded. Very well. I will come with one advisor. 2 hours later, Jiho stood in the Vengeance's conference room as Thelox and a Navaran scientist were escorted in. The ambassador looked around with undisguised interest. Impressive, he said. Your stealth technology is not your only achievement. We had good teachers, Jiho replied, though not by their choice. They resumed negotiations, working from the draft that had survived in Ha-Yun's datapad. Progress was faster now, perhaps because of the shared danger they had faced. As they worked, Dae-sung entered with a report. We've analyzed debris from the scout ship. It was definitely Navaran in origin, but heavily modified. And there's something else. We found evidence of technology from another species. He displayed images of peculiar components. The Navaran, scientist leaned forward with surprise. Those are Zolt components, he said. a species from the far side of our empire. They've been resistant to Navaran authority. Thelox's colors darkened. The Zolts wouldn't dare attack us directly, but they might try to provoke conflict between us and a new species. Hoping we'd destroy each other, Jiho asked, or at least weaken the Empire by engaging it in a costly war, Thelox confirmed. It seems, Admiral, that we have a common enemy. Jiho nodded slowly. All the more reason to finish this treaty. United, both our civilizations are stronger. They worked through the night, finalizing terms that would have seemed impossible days earlier. Equal trade. The Bridge of the Vengeance was silent as everyone watched the 5 massive Navaran warships approach. They were larger than Thelox's diplomatic cruiser, with obvious weapon ports glowing along their hulls. "They're charging weapons," a tactical officer reported. Jiho turned to Thelox. "Ambassador, we need you to contact them. Explain the treaty we've signed." Thelox's colors had become a swirl of dark blue and purple. "I will try, but you must understand. The Imperial Guard answers to the High Command directly. They may have orders that override my authority." "Try anyway," Jiho insisted. Thelox nodded and stepped to the communication station. He spoke in the Navaran language, his voice rising and falling in complex patterns. The response came quickly and seemed to disturb him. "Admiral," Thelox turned back to Jiho. "They are demanding Earth's immediate surrender. The commander claims my treaty is invalid because I was under duress." "Were you under duress, Ambassador?" Jiho asked loudly enough for the communication to pick up. "No," Thelox replied firmly. "I negotiated freely and in the best interests of both our peoples." The Navaran fleet commander's voice boomed through the speakers, now translated to English. "Ambassador Thelox has clearly been compromised. The humans will lower all defenses and prepare for Imperial governance, or we will open fire." Jiho looked to Ha-Yun and Daesung, then back to Thelox. "It seems diplomacy has failed. What do you recommend, Ambassador?" Thelox's colors steadied to a resolute blue. "If my government will not honor the treaty I signed, then I cannot in good conscience support their actions. Admiral Park, I offer my knowledge of Navaran tactics to help defend Earth." Jiho nodded. "Thank you, Ambassador." He turned to his tactical officer. "Signal all Phoenix ships. Drop stealth and move to defensive formation Alpha." Across the solar system, human warships appeared and began moving into position. The Vengeance powered forward to take the lead position between Earth and the approaching Navaran fleet. "Open. A channel to the Navaran commander," Jiho ordered. A Navaran face appeared on screen, his colors bright red with anger. "Commander Velox of the Imperial Guard, your tricks won't save you, humans. Surrender now." "Commander Velox," Jiho replied calmly. "I am Admiral Jiho Park of Earth. Your ambassador and I have signed a treaty of mutual cooperation and defense. We don't wish to fight." "Your primitive deceptions are pathetic," Velox sneered. "Our scans show your vessels are barely armed. This will be over quickly." Jiho glanced at Thelox, who nodded slightly. The ambassador had warned that Navaran sensors would detect energy weapons but might miss the passive quantum lance technology. "This is your final warning," Jiho said. "Respect the treaty or withdraw from Earth space." Velox's colors pulsed with amusement. "You dare threaten the Imperial fleet? Your species truly is as arrogant as it is primitive." The channel closed. The 5 Navaran ships spread out into an attack formation. "They're preparing to fire," the tactical officer reported. Jiho took a deep breath. "All ships, execute combat, pattern Delta. Target engines and weapons only." The Phoenix fleet moved with practiced precision. The Shadow and 2 other stealth vessels closed in on the nearest Navaran cruiser, while the Vengeance positioned itself to face the lead ship. "Quantum. Lances charged," Daesung reported from Tactical. "Ready on your command. Fire!" Jiho ordered. Brilliant blue beams shot from the human vessels, striking the Navaran ships precisely at their weapon ports and engine sections. The largest cruiser shuddered as 3 lances hit it simultaneously. "Direct hits," Daesung announced. "Their forward shields are down. Weapons on 2 ships disabled. The Navarons responded quickly, firing energy weapons at the human ships. One beam struck the Vengeance, making the deck shudder. Shields holding at 80%, and a officer reported. Thelox moved to Jiho's side. Their command ship is vulnerable. The main shield generator is located here. He pointed to a section of the ship displayed on the tactical screen. Jiho nodded. Shadow, target the command ship's shield generator. The battle continued for several minutes. The human ships were smaller but faster, darting around the massive Navaron cruisers. Quantum lances struck with surgical precision, disabling systems rather than destroying the ships entirely. Admiral, Ha-Un called from her station. I've broken into their communication system. I can broadcast a message to all their ships simultaneously. Do it, Jiho ordered. Put me through. Ha-Un nodded. Channel open. Jiho straightened his uniform. Navaron vessels, this is Admiral Park. Your weapons and engines have been disabled. Your shields are down. We could destroy your ships, but that is not our wish. Look out your viewports. You are surrounded by 47 Earth vessels, all with weapons locked on your critical systems. The view screen showed the Navaron ships, now dark, in several sections. The Phoenix fleet had formed a sphere around them, lances aimed and ready. I speak now to your crews, Jiho continued. Ambassador Thelox has signed a treaty with Earth as equals. We offer the same choice to you. Respect that treaty and we can begin peaceful relations between our peoples. Continue this attack and none of you will return to Navaran space. There was silence. Then Commander Velox's voice came through, strained but defiant. This is some kind of trick. Human technology cannot defeat Navaran warships. Yet here we are, Jiho replied. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are offline. These are facts. Commander, not tricks. Thelox stepped forward. Commander Velox, this is Ambassador Thelox. I negotiated with the humans in good faith. Their technology is different from ours, but no less advanced. Some of it is superior. I've seen it with my own eyes. The High Command was wrong about Earth. More silence followed. Jiho could imagine the confusion and debate happening on the Navaran ships. Finally, Velox spoke again. We request a ceasefire to assess our situation. Granted, Jiho replied, but your ships will remain where they are. For the next hour, the standoff continued. Navaran damage control teams worked to restore minimal power to their vessels while the human fleet maintained its position. Jiho, Thelox, and the senior officers waited on the Vengeance's bridge. They're sending a shuttle, a sensor officer finally reported. One life sign aboard. The shuttle docked with the Vengeance. Security teams escorted Commander Velox to the bridge. The Navaran officer's normally bright colors were subdued as he faced Jiho and Thelox. I am authorized to discuss terms, Velox said stiffly. Jiho gestured to the treaty displayed on a nearby screen. The terms are already established in this treaty, signed by your ambassador. We ask only that you honor it. Velox studied the document, his colors shifting as he read. These terms, and they treat Earth as an equal partner. This is unprecedented. Many things about Earth are unprecedented, Jiho replied. We hope that will make us valuable allies rather than enemies. For several minutes, Velox read in silence. Finally, he looked up. I do not have the authority to ratify this treaty on behalf of the High Command, but I can agree to a provisional ceasefire while I take it back to Navaran space for consideration. That's acceptable, Jiho said. But understand this. Earth will never accept a position of subservience. Any future relations must be based on mutual respect. Velox's colors shifted to a pattern Jiho hadn't seen before. Thelox leaned over and whispered, He's showing acknowledgement and reluctant admiration. I will convey your position to the High Command, Velox said. Your demonstration today will not be forgotten. After Velox departed, repair crews helped the Navaran ships restore enough power for the long journey home. Within hours, they had left Earth's solar system, leaving behind only Thelox and his diplomatic vessel. In the Vengeance's conference room, Earth's leaders gathered via holographic projection to hear Jiho's report. Their faces showed a mixture of relief and concern. So the immediate threat is over, the UN Secretary-General summarized. But we may face a larger force in the future. Possibly, Jiho acknowledged. Or the Navaran High Command may accept the treaty. Either way, Earth is no longer unknown or undefended. What happens now, Admiral? Asked the Chinese premier. Jiho looked to Thalox, who stepped forward. With your permission, I would like to remain as the Navaran ambassador to Earth. I believe our peoples have much to learn from each other. And the rest of the galaxy? The American president asked. Are there other species we should be concerned about? The galaxy is full of wonders and dangers, Thalox replied. But news travels. By now, many worlds will have heard that Earth defeated a Navaran battle group. That alone will ensure a certain respect. 6 months passed. The Phoenix program continued, now expanded into an official Earth Defense Force. New ships were built, incorporating both human innovation and Navaran technical assistance. Thalox became a familiar figure at international meetings, sharing knowledge about the wider galaxy. In his office at the new Space Command headquarters in Seoul, Admiral Jiho reviewed reports from Earth's first official diplomatic missions to other star systems. Hyun, now Admiral Lee, led the diplomatic corps, while Captain Daesung had been promoted to commander of the expanded Shadow Fleet. A message arrived from Navaran space. Jiho opened it with interest. The Navaran High Command had ratified the EAM Treaty, officially recognizing Earth as an equal partner in galactic affairs. Moreover, they proposed a joint mission to investigate the Zolt interferonar.